Good evening. It's Todd Melanson, Chairman of the Board of Water Commissioners. I'd like to order the Water Commissioners meeting of October 8th open. It is being recorded on by TCAM and will be on YouTube. And the Zoom link was included in the agenda. I'll read a brief statement that on March 29th, Governor Healy signed into law a supplemental budget bill, which, among other things, extended the temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law, specifically allowing the further extension of public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely. And the rest of it has been repeated. I'd like to call a roll call of members present, please. Todd Melanson, Chair, present.
Nathan Madela, Vice Chair, present.
Jessica Fanioli, Clerk, present.
And we have a resident, George Carey, and that should be enough. I'm going to use chairman additions, deletions to announce that the superintendent is running late, and so we will skip certain portions of the meeting and back to him when he's here. But I would also like to introduce to the board and allow him to introduce himself under chairman's addition and deletions. Nelson Mui. Moy. Sorry, and if I mispronounced it, he is the Townsend's new town administrator, and I'd just like to give him the floor briefly to introduce himself, and we can go from there. Nelson, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Todd. Jess, nice to see you. Nathan, nice to meet you. I don't think we've ever been introduced, but nice to meet you, and I hope to see you in person sometime soon, maybe at the new building opening, which I hear is imminent.
Yeah, possibly sooner.
Yep. Dave actually took me to the new building, I think it was about a week and a half ago now. Really nice facility. I'm really excited to see it up and running. Just a little bit about my background. So I'm closing in on 10 years of municipal service in the public sector. And most recently, I was the Assistant Director of Public Works for the town of Arlington. So, I did most of the administrative, budgeting, and financing portion of the public works in Arlington. But I've also been in a few other public works departments. It's really kind of something I really love doing. I kind of miss it already. It's only been less than 2 months, but I already miss the public works side. I have a lot of water and sewer experience too. I was embedded directly in the Concord Water and Sewer Division for 2 years. So I did everything from, setting the annual water and sewer rates to, doing abatements, that's related to irrigation leaks, leaky toilets, faucets, a burst pipe, things of that nature.
Can I? Did you say abatements in regards to those?
Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay.
What else? Meter appointments, whether the meter is, not giving reads or it just stopped working altogether. Radio transmitters that are not transmitting correctly. So, some accounts are giving like 0 reads for, upwards of 18 months, 2 years. The meter was still working, but the radio transmitter was not. So, the residents would end up getting a catch-up bill, and they weren't too happy about that. But then again, they should have thought something was wrong when they were getting $20 monthly water bills. We billed monthly in Concord, which was kind of a pain. But it really, you can catch leaks a lot quicker versus, quarterly billing. But I know here in Townsend, there's that nifty,
Ion water. It's Ion water.
Okay. And I've seen it in action in with the admins over in the old water building. They showed me, you can see your usage, pretty much on a minute by minute or hourly basis. So you can catch leaks or anything like that fairly quickly with that type of technology, which is really helpful. But I can't say every city or town has that function at the moment. So having that is really helpful for residents. So that's kind of in a nutshell, my experience in water and sewer. I've always been on the administrative side, but over the years, I've really picked up on a few things, especially in Concord, where I was in it for so long. And, we also had sewer as well, which is kind of a entire world of its own, that's kind of separate from water. But yeah, that's sort of my general experience with the water and sewer world.
So you've pretty much been DPW only, not independent, not independent, but water standalone water departments.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, Nelson, thank you. Jessica, Nate, do you have any questions for him at this time, or?
Look forward to working with you.
You too, Nathan.
All right. Well, with that being done, we'll look to 1.5 approved minutes of August 8th and September 9th. Have you had time to review them? And can I get a motion on them?
So the only thing I would like to see changed, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
and dealing with multiple, so we had so many attachments sent.
Yeah, I know.
So it was just a wording thing. It said 1 micron clock, and then I think we all know it was supposed to be cloth, but if it's ever referenced many years later, it'd be good to have that changed.
I saw that too, Nate. So
other than that, I didn't really see anything.
No.
That was the September 9th minutes.
Yes.
It was appointment or section 2.2, line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, line 6.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. I saw that. I just tend to pick out those individual words, so I didn't want to be first on the record of doing that one. So if I could have a motion to accept both with September 9th as amended, I would be predisposed to approving it. So if I can get a motion. Nate or Jess?
Well, why don't we just say so moved?
We got to have to second it. So I'll make the motion. Make the motion to accept the minutes of August 8th, 2024, September 9th as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye. Jessica
Fanioli, yes.
Thank you. We have. I will give the opportunity, Mr. Carey, if you so wish to speak. We have no public appointments currently, so I've seen you on a couple times. If you would like to speak, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine as well. The 2.1, we don't have any appointments on the agenda.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I saw some other correspondence. I believe we got a sheet. Yep.
All right, then I apologize on that one, Nate.
1.6. This is the ADA. It looks like they had done I didn't have a chance to read all of it, but it looks like they went facility to or building to building.
Yeah, the only facility they talked about, Nate, and I was going to let Dave handle that. To be honest with you, I thought that was under his reports, not. It says 1.6, and I do apologize. I just assumed this would be in his reports. The only one I saw. Excuse me? No, don't let me say anything. I assumed that this was on his report and I missed the 1.6, so I do apologize. I did read the report. The only one that it comes to pretty much is the old office, which I think, to be honest with you, isn't it doesn't need to be moved upon because we're moving to the new building and abandoning the old. So from what I saw in that report, after reading it, all the other ones, first of all, they're not open to the public, so they don't have to be ADA, to be honest with you. So, and that's pretty much what their report said. All our well sites, pump stations, the storage facilities, and all that, the storage tanks and stuff like that. The only one that I saw was the old office, and the new office is already ADA compliant. You have to build it that way. So there wasn't much to do in there. There's no cost associated with it because the new building will take place old. So that was pretty much that one. Nate, thank you for correcting me. I appreciate it. I really and truly thought that was would be part of his superintendent's report and not part of the appointments. So hold on one second. Maybe it was. No. So anyways, anyone have anything else to say in that section? All right.
There is another, I think Dave would likely go over this as well. It was after the ADA stuff, looks like AFFF liability litigation.
Yeah, that one I thought is that still, hold on one second. It's taking my computers. Is that 1.62? I would have thought, Nate, thanks. I really and truly thought these would be in his reports because they're not really public comments from our public. These are stuff that have been sent to him to bring to us. Basically, I read this. The first Bellwether case, that's where the initial settlements came out of. Some of the other developing mediations and settlements have another Bellwether case. Let's see, phase 2. I guess they're calling this phase 2. Or we were in phase 1. Now they've started a phase 2. So people who haven't already got in will need to submit claim forms by 2026. It doesn't say anything about when we will see any of the monies from it, but it is, from what I gather from the industry, it is moving a lot quicker than any of the others that people were expecting, to be honest with you. So I guess that's a good thing. Let me see. Anything else? Then there's the budget stuff, and that is definitely in. Did you get to look any of that over, Jessica and Nate?
The budget considerations?
Yeah.
I started looking at the rates and fees, then realizing there was another form sent. I didn't get to see that.
Yeah, it was more explaining things like that. He was giving us different options. Keep in mind, when we signed up for the rate increases, we were, I think the first year we did, it was either 23 or 28%. And then the second year was 18, then it went to 15, and then it stuck at 12. We did that first big one, and we've been able to, since then, stick to 5%. And a lot of it is to build up so you don't do that one big jump when the plant came online. So you know, it is a good financial rule on water not to go long periods of time without rate review or rate increases. So you're not doing that one huge lump. Nate, I'll get to you in 2 seconds. I see you. And thank you for raising your hand. So, you know, if we can stick to the 5% or below, I think that's where I'd like to see us end up, to be honest with you. But the 7% to me is not something I could swallow. And I like having the 4 tiers. But there's a couple things I wanted to ask Dave, and I'll let you know my question is, on some of these, it's our staff going out and doing things. And I just want to make sure what we're charging comes close to recovering the cost of sending our people out there or the administrative fees. If it's not, then we're not really doing our financial best for the entirety of the system in everyone. So like the turn on, turn off fees, the fire flow test that they have to go out and monitor. Are we really recovering? Are we close to recovering the full cost of sending the equipment, the person out there? The meter valve replacement, I believe that one, because I'd like to make sure the 83, whatever we charge for that, in addition to the parts that we're covering the labor. The one I don't think about is the water restriction violations. I don't think that should be part of an increase. Our restriction violations are probably the lowest in the state. But I'd probably, instead of seeing them match the percentages, have it broken up into 3 tiers but 3 levels of notice. First one's written, 2 is $50, 3 is $150, third is $300, and it's $300 thereafter. That's what I've seen as a norm, but instead of tying that's a violation. This isn't like a fee that we charge people for a service. This is something that is supposed to be somewhat punitive. So those are the things I would think about. Nate, I'll turn it over to you and let you speak, please.
Yeah. So a lot of there's a list of these budget considerations, and that's the part I didn't get to see, but I did look at these schedule of rates and fees, and I believe last year we went over this. I'm going to echo what I had said last time. This should not be an increase across the board. I understand you had said we signed on for a rate increase. Well, I'm here to vote on a possible rate increase. Nothing is given. I just want to make sure that's clear. And
I will. Let me interrupt. When I meant that is when we started this process, it was a 6-year, and each year had rate increases, and that we would reconsider at every year. And then when we got through that, and the plant was up and running, that's when we could start to think about easing off, so to speak, or whatever. But I mean, we've done a good fiscal job. We're well below the 12% where we were projected to be at this point in time. I think we're, I want to say, the 4th or 5th year into this. So we're getting to the end. It was supposed to end the year the plant came online, which is next year. So I do think that is on the table. But
Todd, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
I agree with Nathan on this because I literally just found out about this like 2 hours ago. She sent it this morning at like 9. I was already at work. Ethics, I can't be at work checking this email.
I know.
So I don't feel comfortable voting on that tonight because we were just given the information.
The other thing I was going to mention too is I'd like to see, if we're going to talk about this in the rates, I want to see, and we've always done it, Nate, is have tie and bond and the gentleman who does the whole rates and everything like that come and explain everything to us. And it's at our meeting, so it ends up in the community. We actually then go and show the same thing to the Board of Selectmen. That might be a little bit harder to get done in the near term, but it definitely before the budget. I just want us, my premise for doing this was so that we get you, me, and Nate, or Nate and Jess can get eyes on this. If we have questions, it just seems like in the past we've gotten it at the last minute. We haven't been able to make many changes to it. I have questions on some of the comments he made about it, for the reasonings. Let me see what I did with that.
Where are you seeing comments? I didn't receive anything with comments on it.
I thought it was in one of the packages, and I don't know if it was the initial one because I printed it out. Here it is. Budget considerations. I guess because we have a separate trash pickup for the dumpster. I guess that he's got that as it's doubling. There's different things that have been negotiated. I had questions about the chemicals. Like you said, you guys got information late. I've got no problem tabling this. I just yep.
Todd.
Yep.
I think there's a little bit of confusion. We've always received this, discussed it as a board, and decided as a board what we want to change. Now, I understand, people wanting comfort to mull it over before discussing it, but I'm an open book. We can discuss it right here. So what I was going to say, if I can continue. If you're talking about the page that's emboldened that says budget considerations, I do have that. That was the part I didn't have a chance to read, but that's okay. So if I can continue.
Yep.
I'm looking at the choice B, and I would, if we absolutely have to raise rates, I would say fine. The usage rates, the residential, the commercial, as far as the additional fees for system development, I wouldn't want to see any changes there. We have good round numbers. Keep them that way. I mean, sprinkler fees, it would be nice to have Dave say, okay, we do so many of those, and if that makes sense. But like the violations, we over the past decade we've beat that to death and raised them before we had Ty and Bond do our rate study. So keeping those at round numbers too, I wouldn't see like 57.75. I mean, it's how many of those are we actually issuing? Let's just keep it kind of simple. And then
here's the
other than that, if I can just please finish. Other than that, I don't see any other problems. I wouldn't do the turnoff fees. I think that's probably double the rate of the clerical time and money that's spent. The final readings, I don't know if Jess can chime in on that from the office about an 83.50. It looks like we went up a flat percentage last time, or raised it like $1.50 or $3.50. But yeah, other than, I'd say if we're looking at doing a water rate increase, it should be for the water and not all the other fees and violations. And that's it. That's all I got to say.
Well, what I will say is I like the round numbers. I hate charging someone change. If we're going to do it, we would round the numbers. I agree with you there. The only thing, it's beyond the administrative fee on the turn on and turn off. You're also considering the operator's time to go out and do that in the use of the vehicle. So that's where I said, I want to make sure we're recovering some of those costs, if you understand. So it's not just an administrative going in, it's that they have to go out and turn the curb stop and things like that and dig up. So I want to make sure within reason we're reasonably responsible with that and making sure we're at least close to recovering our costs. Our numbers for fees are extremely low. If you don't cover everything across the board, then the residential rates go up a lot more. And that's where the major impact on everybody will be. So if we can keep those to the minimum while kind of doing it wholesale, I think we minimize the overall impact to everybody in general. And that's why David, he explained it last time, is the way he's done that, the way he's done it. I will say
why don't we do a happy medium then?
Well, I'd like you guys to get all the information and have time. We don't have to make a decision right here and now. This was to start the conversation so we can see where our budget is and what we need to do. I also believe that we should have Ty and Bond come in. So if we want to change something, he can do his calculation and it'll show us the impact on the budget right then and there. He's always done that. I think if we have these ideas and we want to change something, then I think that it behooves us to see the impact, because we're not going to be able to do the calculations on our head or on the paper as we talk about this. This first meeting was just to start thinking about the budget. I've always been brought up in this industry to believe that you start doing your budget in October. You start looking at your receipts that you've received in the first quarter. Are they up? Are they down? And where are your costs coming in? Because now you're getting new fiscal year costs of chemicals and other things that may have changed that wouldn't have been in your other budget. So I really wanted to get an early start as a board and look at our budget and look at what we're projecting, because we'll have to make a decision by January. So that's kind of where I was. I wasn't looking to take a vote necessarily, but I wanted to get an idea of where both you stood, and have Dave present what he was looking at as costs, and things like that. I'll make one comment about the violations. We are attached to the Water Management Act, and those are, the permits are under review. I don't believe ours has been issued yet. And they do come in, and the Bureau of Water Resources does come in and do an audit to make sure that if you have restrictions, that you are enforcing them. And by doing that, they have to show that people have gotten violations, to be honest with you, so that you're out there looking at it to a certain degree. So that would be my only thing on that. So I wouldn't be opposed to, there were several that there are costs that I want to make sure we're recovering or coming at least close to that. But take into consideration that if you don't apply this wholesale, everything comes under the water rates. And I'm trying to minimize the impact to everybody as minimal as possible. Nate, go ahead.
Yeah. So I remember when we were discussing enforcement of violations, and Jess, I don't know if you know off the top of your hand or have a rough estimate, Jess Worthenly, how many restriction violations were issued as of this date from the start of the year?
I have no idea.
Have you seen any issued?
No.
Okay. I don't know if the office would get receipt of that for filing, but I'd like to know.
Yeah, I would too. It's something, just, if we're going to look to grow this and stuff like that, we're going to need to keep the volumes that we have. And have that potential for growth anyways. So if we're not, it is onerous. I will be honest with you. It is not a fun task to do, because I did it. I did it for 18 years or 17 years. it's a tough one to do. And it puts the operator at a significant. I will also say there aren't many that do it. The majority, I would say probably 60% don't. So, but where ours isn't been, our permit is still in draft form and it needs to be approved. It's something we need to look at next year. So that being said, it is 8 o'clock and Dave still has not joined us. So, well, let me see, where are we? Um, 3.2 spending 3.2 spending limits. I didn't know if either one of you had a chance to review or had a thought process on it. I had two thoughts. And in talking to a lot of superintendents and DPW directors in general, $5,000 seemed to be about the line that someone could do, would have to still inform on his reports and stuff like that. But they also had, and to Nate's point, where we would get involved for anything larger than that is a PO request. Unless it's an emergency. If it's an emergency, then all bets are off and it just needs to get done to maintain the system. But if it's a purchase or a change order, a lot of places have instituted what they call a PO request form. It gets filled out, what it is, why, and a group like us, like a DPW director, can sign it, or the board. And that's where I think Nate's review would come into play. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, where you think the numbers lie. Just because we're going to incur costs that I don't think anyone here has seen before, just because of the involvement of pumps that we've never had before, chemical feed pumps and all that sort of stuff. I'll be honest with you, those are some of the most finicky pieces of equipment we're going to have. The analyzers, the actual probes that go along with those and stuff. They're not inexpensive, so they need to be able to be replaced in a timely fashion, because your compliance with the state is tied to them most of the time. So that's my thought process. Nate, your chair. I'll give you a second wheel at it.
Yeah, thank you. I was also going to say 5,000 in talks with the prior board of selectmen. That was the number that they were using, and basically, I think the wording should sound something like, $5,000 except for emergencies and normal, basically the normal bills, like our receipt of bills, which is Unitil, Verizon, stuff like that. Yep. Normal operation costs, things that we receive on a regular monthly basis. And certainly I agree with you that the new facility is some of that's going to change. So identifying what those costs are, what line items those are, and not having those perhaps included in the $5,000 limit. Also, another thing would be prudent to note is that it wouldn't be $5,000 per bill. It would be on the project. So if you have a few different stages, each $4,000, like say 3 stages and each was billed for $4,000, that's $12,000. That would be one of those items that says, well, it's above 5,000, or it's expected to be above 5,000, and that would need board review. Certainly anything that is out from the normal or requires a decision, I believe, should come before the board.
Well, the only problem is let's say he lost a chemical feed pump, a probe for one of the other analyzers, and needed a repair to one of the laptop things, and each one of those was $4,000. So the total are you talking per vendor, or are you talking in general per month, that if things need to get bought and it exceeds $5,000, then
so you have a piece of equipment that's
Yep.
integral to operation, correct? So I
Yep.
don't know what an analyzer is. If it's something in the new facility that's integral, the way we currently operate our system, then I would say it would not need a board vote. Certainly, we should be apprised of an emergency situation that's going on. You know, such a failure. I don't know what the ramifications of such a part going down or needing to be replaced, if it would be shutting off a portion of the system or not, perhaps. But yeah, those are the things that we're going to need to scrutinize with the opening of this plant. And along with that, there's going to be a lot of new stuff. There's going to be different, the rules and regs for the old 540 Main Street is not going to be a one size fits all for the new pump station. So yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
What do you think about the PO request? So that way we have it in writing and it's something we can sit and look at and approve.
I'm not familiar. I think I'd like to see a sample. But really, if there is a true emergency, and what we've done in the past is, Dave says, "Hey, there's an emergency." He would tell the town administrator. The board of selectmen would then say they would have to. I get this. The way it happened at that time was they said, "Yes, we see this as an emergency." And it bypasses the need for the regular open meeting law requirement for the 48 hours. And then we would have a meeting.
Yeah. No, the emergency. So like when we had the main break.
It's just due process. There's provisions to make sure we as a board can do it expeditiously and not put the water system in danger, and have Dave able to make those decisions and do what he needs to do.
Okay. I was the word project kind of threw me, so that's why I'm just trying to. I wasn't fighting it. I just was trying to get the viewpoint and your terminology. Listen, I can be hyper focused, so excuse me if I'm a little ADHD and in my own head I need to straighten things out. So I'm okay with that. Nate, I can get you a copy of the PO request, so you can see what I'm talking about. I just think in part it would there beyond just the meeting, there would be a record in the file at the plant or at the office, so that if anyone wanted to see who approved it when, they wouldn't have to go looking through videos and watch a video. It would be in writing and there for anyone. I think 5,000 is a good number for non-review. So we'll leave that there, and I'll let Jess pick it up and see what she thinks.
I agree with Nate. I agree with pretty much everything you guys have been saying. That's why I've been so quiet. I agree with the 5,000. I agree with Nate in the emergency. If there was ever an emergency scenario, I have no problems with any of it.
Okay. Your feelings, is the PO request overkill? I mean, I tend to be overkill, so I just want to see what you thought about that. Would you just like to see an example of it, and we can continue to toss it around and stuff like that?
Yes, I agree. I also agree with Nate on that also, that we should see a sample.
All right, good enough. I can get you one. Let me see. Do we want to vote on the 5,000, or do we want to wait until we have it more set in stone? We can add the PO later if we so wish. I think that's just a procedure. Doesn't need necessarily a vote, but I would think the 5,000 would need a vote. Are you in agreement with that?
I think that we should start there. I think this board can be very understanding of a new process that's going to need to be evolved and amended. Certainly, things happen, and if Dave needs to do something that he needs to do, he's going to do it, and we'll deal with it as it goes. It's not a big deal.
Can we leave one thing off? Is the meters
When did he join? I didn't even see him.
I've been here about 7-8 minutes. I was just listening. Can
All
we
right.
leave meters
Hold on
off?
one, Dave.
Yep.
Please announce yourself for the record, please.
Dave Jean, Superintendent.
All right. You had a comment, sir.
Can we leave meters off because I buy meters once a year in bulk, and because we save on shipping costs, and that's usually about $60,000 because that's we do 200 meters at a time.
Nope. Dave, stop. I'll let Nate in, and then I'll add something as well. Go ahead, Nate.
So that's a great example of something that's done every year. It's kind of a normal thing. You have a plan that we are aware of your meter change out. So, and it's been approved. So purchasing those meters as approved by this board would absolutely be okay.
Okay.
That's a line item in the budget anyways, I think, Dave, isn't it?
It's on the public.
Yeah, but if it's on a line item on the budget, then we have accounted for it and approved, like Nate said, and it's a one-time cost. So that it's like ordering chemicals, Dave. That's a supply item. That's not something. You're not buying a lounger for the office that we would need to approve. So that's within the normal realms of operation, as Nate has described it, and that doesn't need to be noted. It just the 5,000 limit allows you to purchase things that you may or may not need and notify us later. But anything above that $5 limit would need our approval. And like I was saying, I've seen a lot of these PO request forms, and it's a way to track it. And stuff like that. I've found it useful, so I'll put it that way. Nate, I'll let you speak.
Can you just explain the PO request form? Explain.
So,
the
like,
process.
say you have something that isn't integral to immediate operations. I'll use my example. I needed a correlator, a leak detector. We had some really old equipment that kind of worked, but what I was buying was in the realm of $12,000 to $14,000. The whole correlator system. I was required, because it was over $5,000, to attach the quote, write down what I was getting, who I was getting from. The price was on the front page of that PO. I signed it, and it went up to the DPW director for approval. And then the other person that approves it, I believe, is the town treasurer. And then once it comes back to me, that's when I can order it. And then that goes in my file, and it stays in the file up at town hall, and they track them. They each request form or approval form has a number. So they track those as you go through year after year by the numbers. And it shows that you're looking at, it's more than just the person buying it saying, oh, I need this, and buying it. It shows that you've listed what it is, why you need it, the cost. You've attached a legitimate quote to it, and that other people, like a checks and balance, looked at it and approved it, and then it was ordered. So it would be a way. I was really thinking about some of the stuff you talked about, and I think that it would give the transparency. It would give an easier way to keep track of it historically, and just kind of I think it would show that we are fiduciarily being responsible in what we because it would be a vote with each of us would have to sign on to it. It wouldn't be just one of us. So you would even see who signed it and who didn't, and you would need at least two to sign off on it to get it approved. Yes, sir.
So isn't that kind of bypassing an open meeting?
No, it would be done in open meeting. No, it would be,
okay.
We would get that. We would say we got 3 of them, Nate, and they would, that way each one of them had a separate number. We could track the cost and all that stuff. That wouldn't be done on a vote. And that's on me. I didn't explain that part of it. It works a little bit different for me, because I'm a part of a DPW, but I'm trying to use some of that stuff so that we can be as transparent in our costs and accountable to them, and and so that people down the road, in our meeting minutes, PO request 521 was approved. If you go to that sheet and it's that you look up 521, then you got right then and there what it is. It makes it a little bit easier, I think, to track, even year to year. So that was my only thought process. You have never seen one. It's something that I to be honest with you, when I started looking and going over the budget stuff and really taking to heart and really considering what you said in the last meeting about transparency and being responsible, $5,000 is nothing to joke about. So anything over $5,000, I think needs a little bit more making sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And I thought it was a happy medium to meet what your concerns were and to answer what they were, and hopefully, set up something that not just for us, but for the board members that come behind us at some point, that there's something in place to track. Dave's not going to be here forever. And so if there's something set up for the people behind us to do that and make sure and track from board to board, I think it's a good idea. But like I said, you guys have never seen it, and this was the start of the process. So except for this part, but I was just trying to meet your concerns. You had legitimate concerns, and I just wanted to find a vehicle that would meet what we need to get done in the day to day, but also meet our financial fiscal obligations, and allay some of the fears, so that there's something in place that both tracks it and that the person that holds the superintendent's position is answerable to. So that was my whole thought process on that. I think we beat that down. Well, I need a motion on the $5,000, please. I made the last one. Somebody else has got to make the next one.
I make a motion to approve the $5,000 spending limit, as presented, I guess.
I can live with that. Second. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion on the matter?
You
want to amend it?
No, I think it's a good start. It's not like this is the last meeting ever for anybody, so we can always we'll start there. We'll
look what it seems like, and if we think it needs to be tweaked, we can tweak it. All right, motion's made and seconded. Any further discussions beyond that? Roll call vote. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
Jessica Funioli, yes.
Okay, motion's made and passed unanimously. Where am I on my meeting? All right. 3.1. Dave, we already kind of did 3.1. The only other thing I wanted to mention on that, but when you're reviewing, and I'll send it to you guys later, is one of the things under the considerations was the intermunicipal budget or cross charges. That's part of the reason I got as involved as a water commissioner initially. My concern, and it's not just mine, is that with a lot of town budgets under duress, the enterprise accounts will come under siege, for lack of a better term. Most of the costs are fixed, insurance, retirement, all that sort of stuff, longevity, the contracts. What I instituted with the previous board of selectmen, the last two anyways, the last two groups, was the implementation of the Division of Local Services spreadsheet. It's a template to calculate what the intermunicipal costs are. They've been following that. I fought extremely hard to get that included. I'll send you a copy of it to see what it is. It makes the cost transparent. It means that people cannot jack up the costs artificially, because they would have to make basically the fixed costs are on there, and then where the degree of gray is how much they charge you for the services that you use at town hall, and they have to list them on this template. And it's always been a percentage of, or should have been a percentage of, how much we use each individual and stuff like that. And that's where we can discuss with the town administrator or the board of selectmen or both together about what is fair. But it puts it out there and it's transparent. That way we don't show up to town meeting and all of a sudden there's an $85,000 adjustment to the intermunicipal agreement. I'll get you a second, Dave.
Oh, no, I was talking to my wife.
Okay.
It is going to go up, and I when you're ready.
I read your reasons. For most of them, I agree with. I just want to make sure that we're going to have a new board. We have a new town administrator. I wanted both. I didn't know if Nate had ever seen it, and I don't know if Jess had ever seen it. So I'll send it to you this week so you can see it. And it's something I think as a board we should hold the town to, so that I guess the biggest concern is to ease the pain on tax increases. They up those charges and we have to face the music of trying to either cut things out of our budget that we need or raise the rates even further. And we've done the hard work over the last 5 years. I commend Nate. Jess, you'll be new to the party on this one, but Nate and I, we've weathered the storm on a lot of this. We sat and faced a lot of people. We were honest with them. We were honest with the Board of Selectmen. We have been very communicative, including tie and bond, so that they can show the effects of X, Y, and Z. But we've faced the music, and I just want to make sure that we protect the investment that we've made in this water department in the long term and not subsidize someone else. It's illegal to be honest with you.
Certainly.
The water enterprise. Go ahead, sir.
Certainly the burden of a town tax deficit shouldn't be on the water enterprise fund.
Correct. And it's illegal. It's supposed to be, we're supposed to pay our due share of what we use at town services, but we are not supposed to supplement the operating budget of the town. And I just want to make sure if things increase, sort of like that PO, it's on a piece of paper. It's there for everyone to see. We can argue about what percentages are correct, but there are these no mysterious numbers. It was something I battled the previous town administrator over fairly strenuously and vocally over a long term. It's probably why I lost my hair. But I just don't want to go through that battle again. And it, we've done a lot of work as a board trying to see both sides in improving the working relationship between the two boards. And I don't want to do anything that would disrupt that. So I just, with a new board, the majority of a brand new board, and a new town administrator, I just want to make sure we continue that process. And I just wanted to bring that up. And I'll send that in an wait a minute. I will send it in an email to Brenda or Jessica, and they will then send it to you along with the PO example. So I'm not doing anything illegal.
Also with that, and a new board coming in, I think everything but medical, insurance, stuff like that, everything else is negotiable and really should be in line with other industries. So if the town's charging this for someone else to do that, it would cost this much. It should be reasonably close.
Yep. So, like I said, at least it'll be on paper. We'll have a chance to discuss it. Like I said, I do not want to show up to another town meeting and have this mysterious number appear. And I think I did stand up and say I can't. I argued against it, and the ramifications of pulling that was we could fit it, but it was more of a principle stance that I did than what we could afford, and I don't think it would have made a vote on the town floor anyways. So, but I just wanted my objection noted. So I will get that. I'll get that to the admin staff, and they will get those two things to you. Let's see. I keep hitting the wrong button. Limit 3.3, discuss building opening. Did we end up with a date yet?
The first week or two of May is looking pretty solid.
All right. What I would suggest is we have two dates. May historically is fairly wet, and if it looks like we're gonna end up with a monsoon, I think it would behoove us to have a rain date. We would try and keep the date as possible. I'd like to see a plan, and so we can go over it. I do think these are highlight events, but I think there are things that we can do to limit the impact on the budget. I'd like to see where it's coming from, Dave. If it's coming from outreach, that's fine. Things that outreach is required, and you're supposed to have a budget for it. So if we fit it into that, that's fine. Nate, I will get to you. I promise. I
just
see
on your point, what
Yeah.
are you referring to? Where's coming from what?
If we agree to a plan and the money that's associated with it, I just want to see where out of the budget it would come from. I'm expecting it to come out of excuse me, I've had a really long day. And I would expect it to come out of like the outreach portion of the budget so that we can account for it and know where it's coming from. Yes, sir.
A plan for what?
Opening of the treatment plant, ribbon cutting, whatever you want to call it. When we open it to the public.
We really shouldn't be spending a lot of money. I'm in agreement with you about that.
Well, I would say yes and no. We're going to need. I'm going to play the political game on this. We're going to need the support of our state rep and our state senator. I think do I think we went overboard on the last one? Yes. I don't think. I mean, Nate, do you still have your helmet?
No.
I think
we gave those back.
True. I think that sort of thing. But I do think we should have food. I do think that we invite dignitaries because we are going to need them in the future. And we are going to need I've just seen what it is, and we are a small community, so we need to do what we can to maintain that support. Now, do I think we need to hold a champagne brunch and breakfast? No, but I do think we need to invite those dignitaries to thank them for their support, for their advocacy that they did do for us, and invite some of the regulators. Having a good relationship with your regional regulators is a good thing. It puts you on a face-to-face basis with them. And they've allowed us certain allowances to wait until the plant got online. So I think that came from that to a certain degree. and it's a celebration. This is something that this town has done on its own. It's one of the very few things this town has done on its own. So I think that needs, and open it to the public. I'd like to see a better advertising, letting people know what they got. I mean, how many people actually get down there and see it? Maybe a little bit less on the glitz and glam. It's kind of an isolated site. So I think it needs to be planned out. We need to see the plan. We need to approve the plan, and the expenses that go along with it. But I do think that it's important to celebrate this and show what this town can do when it really needs to as a group. I mean, the townspeople, the water takers, have been really, they've suffered as much on the day to day as anybody else beyond the monetary. I mean, when we were running this thing, Nate, when we were running this off of Main Street, when it was a tubular well field, and we brought Cross Street back online, and we were running on Cross Street, the two Witches Brook, and Main Street, the amount of discolored water that occurred on a daily basis to those poor people, and then the construction on Southrow Road and Emery Road, those are real sacrifices. And I really think, or I would like to, within reason, celebrate what we've accomplished as a community, and sort of show them what that sacrifice brought them. And that's my only viewpoint. I'm not looking for gold plates, the 3 banners, and 21 gun salute, but I do think we owe the people that got us here, the legislators, the regulators, and the citizens of the town. I think we do owe them some sort of acknowledgement and sort of some sort of at least minor celebration, because I think it's fairly significant. This is, something that we've done. The school is 3 towns. This is Townsend's, and I'd like to have Townsend recognized for it. And I'd like the citizens to be able to see what the sacrifice, both monetarily and in terms of the day-to-day life, what it got them. So I will shut up now. Anybody else have anything to say? All right. So Dave, I'd like to see
no more than 3,000.
All right. Well, I want to see what that 3,000 gets us, because I also want you to think about where it's sort of isolated. Those residents on Cooperage Way and Harbor Trace are not going to want it lined with cars parking and people walking up and down. It would become congested and stuff. So if we get an idea, or maybe ask the town to do a poll on the website, I don't know, but we can get an idea of what we can expect. We need some sort of plan to handle the traffic, and maybe an offsite parking space with a bus going back and forth or something, so that we don't, first of all, don't make an emergency. If we have an emergency down there, nobody can get there. That's going to be bad. But I also don't want to impose on the two neighborhoods that are there unjustly. So that would be my only thought process. So I just want us to really think it out, so it's well planned. And I will shut up again.
I can park about 75 cars.
All right.
So a couple things, and I really think a lot of this should be discussed with on a separate agenda item. But what's the building's capacity? All right, and then you guys had some good topics, but I think before deciding anything, we should discuss what ideas everybody has as a board and come up with a plan, vote on it.
No, I agree. All right. That one's again been beaten to death. We will go. I don't believe there's any commissioner reports or updates. Nate, do you have anything? Jess, I think we're good on that. I will turn it over to 6.1 superintendent reports.
Okay. First one, treatment plant. The admin area is almost finished. They're putting on the carpet and the tiles in the bathrooms. That'll be done within the next 2 weeks. Furniture goes in sometime starting next week. The garage, all that's left is the automatic door controls and the EV outlets. Security. We talked about putting security in Witches, but we have some money left over in the security line item. So it'll be 100% paid for at Witches Brook from the treatment plant. And we'll have money left over in that line item for the building budget, even with putting that in. A week from Tuesday, next Tuesday, they're going to start up the plant. Harbor Trace is now back up and running for the first time in 2 years.
It's not going to go to the system though, is it, Dave?
Not till it goes to the plant. They're running it to waste.
No, I understood the well was running to waste, but you said they were going to start the plant up, correct?
Correct. And then they're gonna have a tanker truck, and they're gonna put it through.
I just want to make sure it's not going, just because I know Littleton started theirs to the system a little too soon. The GAC needs a certain amount of time to adjust once the waters hit it. So I just want to make sure we don't. Let's learn from other people's mistakes. Just make sure Ty and Bond is on that. Okay.
Yeah, we are. So we're on that stage. We've already done the GAC. The GAC is in. It's been backwashed. It's been all that stuff has been done. Harbor Trace got put back on. We found out that there was a couple of gates at Harbor Trace that didn't, butterfly valves that didn't work, so they had been replaced, and okay. So. But that was part of where I showed you that the well that was absolutely disgusting and was actually falling apart, and we didn't know it. But that's all been fixed, all been repaired. And
Dave, on that, how did the pump curve come out after they rebuilt it?
We're way ahead of where we were because it was 40% clogged.
All right, so it returned to the theoretic pump curve on that, or
better because we put a new motor that does about 30% higher volume because we're pushing it through.
All right, Dave, stop 1 second. Nate has his hand up. Nate,
yeah, you had said that you had shown us that. I don't remember being shown anything.
I sent the pictures to everybody.
Okay, it was just not during a meeting.
No, it was one in an email. Okay. It was They had pulled it, and you could actually see the oxidized iron that had built up on the inside on the outside of the pump. And I think he showed us the screen as well in the ground. It just that's what happens. And to be honest with you, if you don't get it soon enough, especially if it gets down into the gravel, it's very hard to recover a well. So that's why you depending on the makeup of it and stuff, you usually rotate them. We have 5 wells, so you would rotate. Maybe do 1 a year or 2 a year. So you don't want to go much more than 3 years between treatment. If you've got one well that's a little bit dirtier and maybe gets used a little bit harder, maybe that's one you do every year or every other year and fix in the others. But once you push that, once it gets that dirty, sometimes it's very hard to recover, especially as they get older. So, and that costs you more in the long run, because then you have to go and either find another well or put in a replacement well. And if you can avoid that, it's so much the better. It might cost a little bit in upfront, but in the long term, it saves you a lot of money. So I commend Dave on that. Go ahead, Dave.
Right. Just to remind you, you guys actually voted for $10,000 to clean that well. About 2 months ago. But all right. The plant will be in full operation by the end of October. which
I thought you said we weren't going into operation until the spring.
No. We're not going to do the generator's not going in till late fall, late winter to early spring. So I want the generator be in before we show people off the building. But we're going to be in full operation in the end of this month or the first week of November.
Into the system.
Into the system.
DEP's on board with this.
We just have to get them to approve it as soon as there's testing.
Okay.
That's what we're projecting. But DEP
let's just say we're close, and we're close, and it's dependent upon DEP approval. Right. I'm hesitant to say a specific date and not have DEP's approval in hand.
Right.
So let's just say we're looking for an earlier operational kickoff than expected, but it is dependent on DEP approval, and I think we would be safe, because if we promise a day and that doesn't happen, I'd rather not explain that. So I prefer that.
Again, and that going back to that, the moving into the building is about the same time frame.
Okay.
And
Dave,
the town's
is the town or us? Are we moving our own equipment in there, or is that part of the SRF project that they're actually going to move our stuff in for us, or is that just something we're going to do?
There's almost no equipment being moved.
Well, what about all the SCADA equipment?
SCADA is not moving. It's going to get scrapped. Whole new SCADA systems being built.
Okay.
Because you can't have you have to have one up and running before you can shut the other one down.
Dave, any of the excess equipment, is it viable equipment? Like the computers, are they too old, or?
The computers are being reused. We have 2 employees that don't have a computer, so we are reusing them for employees. They've already been rebuilt once.
Okay, but they're being moved to the office, correct?
Oh, right. All the computers are being moved to the office.
Right, and then like they had a lot of like mechanical tools and stuff in the old garage. I don't think there's a lift there, but all that's being moved to the
tools and the pots in the garage are going to be moved, but none of the furniture is going.
All right, so that is all going to be
excess
disposed. Yeah. 2 things. We either sell it. I think by law we can either sell it through municipal bid, or we can make it as a donation.
There's nothing. There's nothing.
If there's nothing, well, there's desks, and there's chairs. I think we had a couch in the sitting room there, or a coffee table, or was it 2 chairs?
Those are mine.
Oh, well, then they're yours. You can take them home. I'm sorry.
I donated them.
Okay. Anyways, they can make the trip or whatever. Anything that would be, I just want to make sure we were looking at and making sure that anything that is considered excess, we either try and recoup some sort of its cost if it's there through municipal bid, or we make it as a donation to like Habitat for Humanity or something like that. But anyways, I will end that. Continue.
So walls will be completed towards the end of November, which is what, because it's not critical to the operation of the treatment plant. Harbor Trace is going to, and when Harbor Trace is going to feed it till the one wall goes on, then we're going to send it to the plant. Then the other wall goes on, and we'll send it to the plant. Generators in Witches Brook are November to beginning of December. Generated Harbor Trace doesn't even come in till sometime December, early January, and then it's going to get installed, but the pad's poured.
Okay.
Water line is finished. We did sampling on Monday. We didn't want to turn it on till all the sampling is back in good order, and then we're going to flush Emery and put the water line on.
Okay.
All paving is done.
Have they given a projection of what that change in flow is going to do to the system?
We won't know until it changes.
That's my point.
Seasonally.
Before we do that, 2 weeks in advance, and I would do a countdown to get people prepared that potentially there's going to be discolored water out on 13 in some of the. It's going to change the flow of the water. So I just want to make sure. I do not want anybody in this town getting caught flat-footed because we didn't tell them. So I would say when you're getting ready to do that, I would make sure that it is on everything from the digital signboards to the town website. If we have an emergency reverse 911 system, that we're letting the public know that that line goes live and the flow is going to change and there is the possibility of discolored water. And then be prepared to flush it if you can, if it's not too cold. But I just, that resident last week really rebounds in my head, or last month, excuse me, rebounds in my head. I just want to make sure if we have something planned that may cause discolored water, we're letting the public know. So nobody, we limit the impacts to the individual person that may get affected. So I'll shut up again. Go ahead.
So GIS continues for the mapping. We have to finish the GIS before we can send it to a master plan because we're locating every service, every gate, every hydrant.
You doing the hydrant gates as well?
Everything.
Good enough.
So this way we'll have it.
Are we doing it ourselves or
we're doing it ourselves? The guys go out.
Now I'm curious. What are you using for a locator? Sorry. Well, you know what? I can do this on my own time. Shut up.
We bought that like 3.5 years ago.
Good enough.
And we're almost finished. We only got a few things, and you know how much that costs if you do it from the outside. You're talking about $50,000 to $75,000, and the guys are doing it even more. So the guys are doing it on their own. They seem to enjoy doing it because they get an accurate picture. So then the last thing is the meters. We're up to 54%. We're doing the big countdown. We're approaching 900 left. There's also a lot of building being in planning. There's about 28 units that are being 108 Fitchburg Road, 6 units, 3 duplexes. 1 Depot Road extension, 6 units, 3 duplexes. To the left of Dunkin' Donuts on Route 13, 8 units, 2 buildings of 4 each.
Yeah, that's the one where you were going in marking out in the pines by the Squanicook.
Correct. There's a dead hydrant by the bridge.
Yep.
It's never worked, and we found out why. Because that's a water line that goes from in front of Dunkin' Donuts up through an easement in the front of it and down. So it was never turned on. So we marked it out. It's going to get turned. They're going to rechlorinate it, repressure test, and do it all over again. And
could I make a suggestion? I would rebuild it before you test it.
Yeah,
don't need a new one. The barrel's probably good and stuff, but I would rebuild the guts just as a friendly advice.
Right. So one of them in the back of the property they're gonna just chop off and put a new hydrant on.
Okay.
Because they're gonna put 2 4-unit buildings.
Dave, looking at our charges, are they 2 inches services going into those individuals or 1?
There's going to have to be a 2-inch service. Well, actually, they're going to be 4 1-inch services, 1 for each unit, because we don't allow splitting it in the buildings.
No, I knew that, but are they?
And there's 2. And each building is going to have a 2-inch fire line.
Okay. That's why I was going 2-inch. I was thinking that it was with the size they were going to need fire. All right.
But there's an 8-inch line that goes right to the back of the property, so they're gonna cut it off and reposition the hydrant closer to the buildings.
Okay.
And that's it.
Dave, did they do fire flows for any of that? Fire
Not
flow
yet.
tests?
They gotta, well, they're not at that point. They did the septic
Okay.
testing.
One thing that we kind of discussed initially, the whole budget and the rates and stuff like that. One thing I brought up is on some of the things where our staff has to go out and do something. I'd rather make sure we are recouping as much or as close to true cost of going out there. So, if you look at the shut-offs, turn-on, turn-offs, and some of the others, I just like to match up what the cost is, both on the admin and us, the guy going out there to do the turn-on, turn-off, fire flow test, and some of the others. Make sure we're recovering, as close to recovering our costs as we can without being too onerous, I guess is the best word. So
Right.
that would be something for the next minute to continue our discussion about the budget. I'd like to see as well.
That's why I put it in the rates. I think like for one man was 87 for an hour there was like.
So do you include that, or I mean, when they get called out, so like say it's an emergency shut off, right? And they go out and do a shut off. Is that a 4-hour log out for them automatically if they get called out?
It's automatic 2 hours.
2 hours. All right. Just give us some round numbers on what the cost is and how close we are to recouping it, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Does
Are you
anybody have
saying
any
in an
other
emergency? I'm sorry. Yeah, I do.
questions? Go ahead.
That statement was that you're saying a turn-off fee. So you're saying that's an after-hours thing?
No, the other ones are doing the turn on, turn offs are usually like people going away, or if they're going to have plumbing work done and they need the whole house shut off, that requires us to go dig up the yard, find the curb stop, shut it off, and let them do the work inside the house, and then go back and turn it on. Or if they're going away for a long period of time, like if they're going to Florida, they go to the curb stop and shut that off. Because more often than not, those valves inside the house can fail in that circumstance.
So, but your curb, you go usually the curb stop. The curb stop supposed to be, is it accessible or readily accessible?
It's in the yard, so a lot of the times, they're usually 3 or 4 inches underneath the grass, so that you're not going to hit it with a lawnmower. Sometimes people do have them. If they're in driveways by code, there's supposed to be like a gate in the road. They're supposed to be even with so as you pave it, that cap is supposed to be visible and even with the pavement so that it's accessible. A lot of the time, the pavers will just go right over them, which makes it fun for the operator. But that it's something out of the ordinary. In time, in effort. So there's usually a turn on, turn off fee. So you're recouping because it's not something that they would do in their normal course. You're doing a service, so you charge it. The other one is after hours, if they can't get a plumber, but something break and they call 7 o'clock at night and the guy goes off and does a shut off, he gets paid 2 hours of time, whether it takes him a half an hour or 3 seconds. So like I said, I just want to make sure for those sorts of things where.
Yep. So would they be charged a turn on fee and an hour of labor?
No, it's just right now. That's why I said I want to make sure we're recovering the cost. It's if you go and do it right now, it's just $50. It's where I think we're. Go ahead.
We should look at our.
You have the floor, Nate.
Thank you. We should look at the schedule rates and fees. What I'm looking at right now. And also our rules, regs, procedures to delineate what the turn on fee covers. And then if, like, say a homeowner does pave over their curb stop, that may incur a labor charge. So by doing that way, you're not creating a boilerplate situation, but it fits the situation and doesn't overcharge customers that are, hey, my curb stop moved easily. It's right there. It's painted blue from 3 months ago. And
no, Nate, I like it. And you know what? If you start charging people who have paved over their driveway, I can bet you that it won't happen again. I like it.
I'll add that to my list.
Except for if you buy a house that the resident before paved it over, I don't think that's quite fair. But
I agree with you.
With people doing with our guys doing the GIS, we are fixing the boxes as we go.
So when you purchase a home, it is upon the homeowner to do their due diligence. So if you know that you're getting town water and you're saying, hey, what equipment do I own? What equipment don't I own? And you're versed in that, or you're educated and said, okay, hey, there is a curb stop. Well, where's my curb stop? Do I need to know that, or does the water department need to know that? Sure. Yeah. I think that's a very common thing. Right. It's worth noting, Dave, but certainly it's.
But in this, I think that's on us. The curb box is on us. And
the other part is, one thing I would do in Nate's idea, kind of kick me in, is let's see if it's in our rules and regs that the curb stop in it. One, if it's a new building, if it's a new building going in, the curb stop, we should have in our regs, the curb stop should not be in the driveway. Because God help the person if that thing breaks and they got to dig up their whole driveway, never mind their front yard. I think in our rules and regs, it should say no curb stop in the driveway. If it already exists, the curb stop has to remain even with the surface, so it is accessible without having to cut it. And if we do that, I think then we cover all our bases. And then it goes out in that new packet. If we send new homeowners packets and stuff like that. But I really like Nate's idea.
Let's discuss that. Add an item to another meeting and discuss that.
Yes, sir. Well, schedule next Board of Water Commissioners, 7.1, schedule next Board of Water Commissioners meeting.
Do we want to go back
to 1.6, you're
1.
restricted,
6, sir?
Say again?
Do we want to go back to 1.6 for the few items that we thought Dave might want to speak to?
Dave, we kind of discussed you had under 1.6, the ADA report and the
ADA. Oh, yeah, that was nothing. I just put it in there for you to know. The only one we got gigged on is the 540 Main Street, and that's going away.
Yep. And then the Napoli shop link, it was pretty.
It was just for your information. Nothing.
Okay.
I put it in there because you guys want to know. So I got it. So gave it to you.
Okay.
But there's nothing going on. We just they asked me for a copy of the permit the end of last week.
Okay.
Because they want to know how much they're calculating how much money we're getting. And
okay.
And so they're at that stage. They're at the final stage. There's going to be 2 payouts. One they're going to give us something for the construction of the building, and that's called a special. You'll see it as a special. That move forward. And then there's the one that we've been talking about, which is about $4 million. And that's for damages for like doing the media and stuff like that.
And we need to get a meeting scheduled to do.
Yes, that just kicked in, Nate, myself. I was just going to say, in talking about adding to future meeting items, is we need, Nate, we need a liaison, and we need town council and town administrator, so that we, especially with getting back to my previous point about the budget, I think we need to do those. The next meeting, I think we just lost.
Yeah, she had to leave at 9.
Okay. Nate, you're more restricted right now than I am. So in November, Tuesdays are the nights you can do, correct?
You know what? I hope that you can be accommodating because, I've never
What do you
had,
have?
I've never had I got Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays available.
Weekends.
Well, I don't really
I could
care.
do
I've always
Thursdays.
said I don't care what day we do it, but now, unfortunately, I have restrictions.
Nate, everybody, you know what? You guys were accommodating when I had certain family issues going on. The week would be it's the second week, correct?
Yes.
So the 14th, which is a Thursday.
Yep.
7:00.
Hold on. When is Veterans Day?
11th. Veterans Day is the 11th.
Okay.
Oh,
I just wanted to bring that up. Just
Nope.
as
So
long as we're posted.
Yep, the 14th is in at 7. And if Jess has we can modify it if
under the 11th.
Jess has an issue or whatever. But I would say 7:00, Thursday, November 14th. Let's see.
Would it be possible to, with everything except for the generator being completed, can we schedule a work session to have Dave give us like a walk around? Maybe not like 7:00. I don't know if there's a time that you might be able to break away. It would just so Dave doesn't have. We can all see it at the same time. If we want to make comments, not discuss or vote anything, but get some stuff, view it as a whole.
Yeah,
I think,
I think
a work session might be appropriate to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Why don't we, Dave, put that on the next. I don't want to necessarily wait until the next meeting.
Yeah, I was thinking something sooner.
I need to be able
to.
I just need to be able to schedule my work day or my work week around it. So if I can get Dave, give us some days that you would have available. Thursday or Friday would be better for me on kind of get my work schedule kind of set. Friday's potentially the best. Right now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm working from.
How about the 1 hour before the meeting?
No, it'll be already dark by then. I was thinking and not to hinder you at all. If I'm reading Nate right, I was thinking more like 3 or 4 o'clock. So
3:30 or 4 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah. So
just so you know, the daylight savings is going to make it dark at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
No matter what. So
we could walk around the outside and then.
There's plenty of lights. That thing is got the lights that go straight down. So,
I'm okay with like 3:30. Why don't we do 3:30? Well, I just don't want to string everybody out on the same day. So Thursday it just like I was saying right now until Thanksgiving, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm working from about 7 to about 9
So if people
Fridays would be better for me.
You're saying the end of October, Dave?
Well, that the end of October, the first week of November is when we should be moved in.
Okay.
But it could change. It's we're waiting for the gas meter to go in. There's certain things that have to be done. So
why don't we say the Friday after not the 15th? Well, we could do it the 15th. Fridays ended up being better for me right now with what I got to do at work. So either the 15th or the following Friday. That gives Dave at least a 2-week. If we did it the 22nd, say, at 3:30, it gives Dave a 2-week buffer if something kind of holds us up, and we can do the walkthrough on the 22nd. Does that sound reasonable?
And you can invite the new selectman.
Let's keep it just us. Yeah, just so we can.
I'm with Nate. I'm with Nate on that one. They can come to the opening.
Yeah, bring them. They could come down individually as you know.
So, well, they have to be invited. They can't just show up. So,
Right, because
Right. And if they all show up and they're not posted,
well, if all three show up in there, it's not posted. But even individually, technically, because it's a restricted site, even selectmen have to be invited. Board doesn't, water board doesn't, but any other outside officials, they have to be invited because it is a restricted site.
Right.
So I'm just saying that selectmen can't of their own volition show up. They would have to be invited to, and like you said, if all three showed up, they would have to post that. So I'm saying the Board of Water Commissioners walk through
November 22nd
on let's say 3:30. All right.
Okay.
Prepare to get blown away.
I am prepared, Dave.
You're going to be absolutely amazed at how it's come out.
I hope so.
Oh, trust me.
Mr. Madela, could I have a motion on 7.2, 7.3, and 7.4?
Yes. I'm just making sure everything's all right. Mr. Chairman, I move that we schedule the next. Well, we kind of did that, right? I move that we review monthly abatements and adjustment lists, review and approve end of month reports, and sign reports and weekly bill payable warrants out of session.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All right. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
Motion's been made and passed. Anything further from that you need to say, Nate?
Nope.
All right. That being said, I make a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
Everybody, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience and great work.